The firefight in the damp alley was brutal. Lasers hissed through the rain-soaked air, striking the rusted metal walls of the abandoned sector of Jorok City. Darren Carter, an exchange student from Earth, wasn't supposed to be here. But fate, or perhaps just his unrelenting curiosity, had put him in the crosshairs of something much bigger than himself. The figure cowering behind a toppled hovercrate wasn't just anyone. She was Princess Salia of the Virian Empire. A bounty had been placed on her head by a rival faction, and mercenaries had already surrounded the alley. Darren, armed with nothing but a reinforced study tablet and an emergency distress beacon, had only seconds to make a decision. He charged. Using the tablet as a shield, he deflected an incoming stun bolt. Then, grabbing a discarded steel pipe, he swung at the nearest mercenary, catching the alien off guard. The mercenary crumpled. Darren wasted no time. He grabbed Salia's hand and ran. They sprinted through the rain-drenched streets, weaving between rusted vehicles and flickering neon signs. "Who are you?" she gasped. "A really unlucky student," Darren panted. "And you?" She hesitated. "Salia. I guessed that part. Then you should know that helping me makes you a target." Darren glanced back. The mercenaries had recovered and were pursuing. "Yeah. Well, I've never been much for playing it safe." Chapter 2, The Escape. They barely made it to the spaceport in time. Darren's forged student visa granted him access, but Salia's status as a fugitive meant security was scanning for her. Thinking quickly, Darren pulled a maintenance jumpsuit from a locker and handed it to her. "Put this on. Keep your head down. You're awfully calm for someone risking his life," she said as she slipped into the disguise. Darren grinned. "I'm a college student. Last-minute problem-solving is what we do." They managed to board a freighter bound for neutral space, leaving their pursuers behind. As the ship entered hyperspace, Salia turned to him. "You saved my life. That is a debt I cannot ignore." Darren waved a hand dismissively. "Just help me pass my galactic history exam, and we'll call it even." Salia smiled. "I think I can do better than that." Chapter 3, The Heir's Gift. Weeks passed. The Virian Empire had secured the princess's safety, thanks in no small part to Darren's reckless bravery. He expected his life to return to normal, whatever normal meant when you were the only human on an alien planet. But then, one day, a delegation arrived at the university. The head of the delegation, a towering Virian noble, approached Darren in the middle of the lecture hall. "Darren Carter, by royal decree, you are to be brought before the imperial court." Darren blinked. What? They didn't give him a choice. Within hours, he was aboard a royal vessel, bound for the capital world of Viria Prime. When he arrived, the grand palace loomed over him, its crystal towers shimmering under the twin suns. In the great hall, Salia stood on the throne platform, dressed in her imperial regalia. "Darren Carter," she announced. "By our laws, a life saved demands a life returned in kind." Darren scratched his head. "I don't follow." Salia took a step forward, her expression warm. "You saved my life, so I will give you what you lack." He raised an eyebrow. "A passing grade in history." She laughed. "No, Darren. A family." Chapter 4, Finding Home. Darren had always been alone. He was an orphan, drifting through life without any real roots. The thought of having a family, an actual family, was something he'd long given up on. Yet, here he was, being embraced by the Virian royal court as one of their own. As an honorary member of the imperial family, he was granted privileges beyond his wildest dreams. He had a home, a purpose, and, perhaps most importantly people who cared about him. The Queen herself welcomed him as a son, while Salia treated him as a brother in all but blood. The transition wasn't easy. Virians had different customs, traditions, and expectations. Darren struggled with etiquette, formal speeches, and wearing ridiculously elaborate outfits. But through it all, Salia was there, guiding him, laughing with him, and reminding him that he wasn't alone anymore. One evening, as they stood on the palace balcony overlooking the sprawling capital, Darren sighed contentedly. "I can't believe this is my life now." Salia smiled. "Believe it, Darren. You're one of us." Chapter 5. A future worth fighting for. Darren didn't just settle into his new role. He thrived in it. He used his knowledge of human problem-solving to assist in diplomatic matters, mediating between the Empire and alien factions. His unique perspective earned him respect among Virian nobles and allies alike. But danger was never far. The faction that had sought Salia's life wasn't finished. When an assassination attempt was made during a royal summit, Darren once again threw himself into the fray. This time not as an outsider but as family. With his quick thinking and newfound combat training, he helped foil the attack, proving once more that humanity had a place in the stars. As the years passed, Darren realized something profound. He had come to this world as a mere student, but he had found a home, a cause, and a family that would stand by him until the end of his days. And in the grand halls of the Virian Empire, the legend of the human who saved the princess, and was given a family in return, was passed down for generations to come.